rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We all have copies of the minutes from the last meeting held on August 26th. Have you had a chance to review those minutes? And if so, are there any additions or corrections? All right. Hearing none, all in favor of the adopting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We also have a copy of today's agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, is all in favor, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Diane,
Second.
second by Ken. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? New business. We, as a screening committee, met to hear some endorsements in several races around the county that were filed before we could really take advantage of them last month. Number one, we have somebody from Issue 1, which is the Human Services Levy. Montgomery County has, I think, but for about 40 years, back in the early 80s, has divided all their human services levies into two different levies. Other counties continually, almost every year, have something on the ballot. They've done it so that I think they come up to every 3 years, one of the two come up for renewal. Issue 1 is up this year. They have there is no increase in the taxes, which may hurt a little bit on some that they had to tighten the belt on some of the stuff that they are servicing in, but with the COVID and the restrictions of the recession we just went through, they decided to keep it as is with no increase. So was the recommendation of the screening committee that the Human Services Levy be endorsed by our party?
I so moved. Second.
Second, moved by Tom Ritchie, seconded by Scott Thomason. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The Dayton School Board, we interviewed 3 people. Joe Lacey, I think Joe's here, Joe. Cassandra Goodwine, is Cassandra here? And then Eugene Jackson. Both Joe and Cassandra are on the ballot. Printed names will be on the ballot. Eugene Jackson, who is a retired teacher and still subs both in Dayton and some other surrounding neighbors. He is a writing candidate. After interviewing him, it was the recommendation of the screening committee that Joe Lacey and Cassandra Goodwine be endorsed for the school board. We already endorsed 2 others last month, and that would leave us with 4 endorsements for 4 seats. Last month we endorsed Jocelyn Reinhardt and Keara and Gagne. So that, again, that would give us 4 for the 4 seats. Is there a motion to endorse Joe Lacey and Cassandra Goodwine? Mary Patterson makes the motion.
I second it.
Cena Buchanan seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes.
Was there any consideration for endorsing more than 4 candidates?
No. Well, I mean, there was consideration given to all of them. Part of it, frankly, is that with 3 people that are on the ballot printed, in all likelihood, frankly, they're probably going to win because it takes quite an effort to get people to write in names. And if we endorse more than one person for write-ins, we think we were hurting ourselves in order to get people through. So it was our recommendation that just the 4 people get endorsed.
So we're not based on their qualifications?
Well,
it's based-
qualifications, it's the qualifications and their ability to run a campaign too. That always is also taken into consideration.
Well, obviously, one of the people that you endorsed wasn't capable of running a campaign because she couldn't get on the ballot.
Well, neither did the other person, so we got 2 write-ins, so, that was our recommendation. Is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the endorsing Joe Lacy and Krishanda Goodwine, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
All right. Joe, did you want to say anything while you're here? Or?
I want to thank everyone, and I'll see you around.
All right. Mad River School Board, we interviewed Yusuf Elzine. Is Yusuf here? Okay. Yusuf has run a couple times in the past, and this time he actually wasn't going to consider running until a member of the current school board visibly came out against the CRT. That person was actually president of the state school board, so he decided to run. We interviewed Yusuf, and it was our recommendation. We also put out feelers for others that most of them are Republicans. There was one other Democrat that did not respond to our request for endorsement, for opportunities for endorsement. So it was our recommendation that Yusuf Elzine be endorsed for the Mad River School Board.
So moved.
A motion by Tom Ritchie, seconded by John Murphy. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes.
Did you say he was a proponent for CRT?
He is not necessarily a proponent for it. He thinks, from talking to him, he believes that racial issues should be discussed in school. Now, the question of whether it's CRT is a whole different matter. I mean, we can have that. I think the actual definition of CRT is basically a law school issue, not something that's taught in grades K through 12. But clearly, those people that are against CRT don't want to have racial issues discussed at all. They just would rather ignore slavery and the civil rights movement and everything else. So he's in favor of teaching those. Do you have any other questions regarding that, or? All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right. In Huber Heights, we had Nancy Burge, who is currently on school board or on council as at large. She's running against a Republican, and we endorsed her 4 years ago. Was Nancy here tonight? And then Vincent King, who is running in Ward 4, again against a Republican. It's an open seat in Ward 4, and it was our recommendation that Vincent King and Nancy Burge be endorsed by the Montgomery County Democratic Party. Is there a motion to adopt that? Mary Patterson, seconded by John Murphy. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. In Kettering Council Ward 1, we interviewed 2 people, Lisa Duvall and Darrell Meshew. There also is a third candidate who is a Republican running, David Brown. After much discussion, Mr. Meshew, I think, is here. You want to say something?
Yes, I think there was a little,
Stand up if you would.
yeah, there was a little bit of confusion about one of my answers, and I brought a statement tonight that I wanted to address that later on. That's why I asked you The confusion involved my personal feeling that we should endorse all qualified Democrats that are on the ballot or not. That's why I said that I was not asking for the endorsement. So that's my personal feeling because I'm a first-time candidate and I feel that we need more first-time candidates and we're sending the wrong message if we're endorsing one person over another with the first-time candidate and tipping the scales in favor of one or the other. How do we get people to run for office when they see that? Thank you.
All right. The screening committee made a discussion regarding that. It was a very long discussion. And it was the recommendation of the screening committee that Lisa Duvall receive the endorsement. Now, there are other screening members here, I think, and they can address this. But one of the things that we have in chance here is that we have endorsed Jill Hall for a at-large seat. We've tried to recruit as many Democrats to run. In this instance, we have 2 Democrats running and 1 Republican. The likelihood of them like splitting the vote, letting the Republican run, is something that we made a consideration to make that endorsement. So the screening committee, made the decision to recommend one person, and we thought that Lisa Duvall was the best candidate in an attempt to try to win another seat on the Kettering Council. So that was the decision of the screening committee. Is there a recommendation? We'll get to your discussion after we have something on the floor. Is there a motion to adopt the recommendation? Right? So moved. I don't have my glasses on. It's too far away. Who?
That was Joe Hall.
Joe Hall. Megan Thomas making a second. Now, David, you had it.
I've been on Central Committee as an elected precinct captain, been a ward leader for 12 years or more. I've said over and over, our job is to elect Democrats first and foremost, nothing else. Secondly, I've never voted on who is on this screening committee, and as someone who is screened, I find it offensive that the first or second question is, if we don't endorse you, will you drop out? This is not a democratic process, it's not a democratic party, it's a monarchy and a good old boys club, and it needs to stop, as do raising our hands in front of many of the precinct captains or the appointed precinct captains work for elected officials and are being watched as they vote. That's undemocratic. There's no other place in American democracy where your ballot is not secret.
Well, that's not true. Senate, House, and under the laws of the DNC, they have to be open ballots. They have to be open votes. It can't be secret ballots. By the rules of the DNC, which we are ruled under. If you go to the DNC, they're all open ballots. If you go to the state party, they're all open ballots.
Are they written? Are they on paper?
Pardon me?
Are they on paper?
It's in the DNC Constitution.
What do you mean, are they on paper?
Are the votes recorded on paper?
If people ask for them to be recorded on paper, they are.
I think they should all be recorded on paper. There shouldn't be a raised hand where
Well, then they
the
all
person
have to be
can-
signed in order to.
That's fine. I'm an elected representative of my precinct, and I have no problem saying how I vote. But I do have a problem with it being watched by people's bosses where there's pressure to follow the party line. Thank you.
Tom?
Mark, a lot of us have been party members for a long time and served in different capacities in this party. And I think it's the right of the people to vote. I don't, in all the years I've been around this party, I've never heard one member, one employee of an organization, and I spent my adult life representing public employees in this community. I've never had one of them come and say to me that they were pressured into voting one way or the other. You know, it just, it's democracy at work. The people have a right to due process. We choose to vote by hand, we call the question, and we move on. And it's just the way that it works. And I don't think that there's pressure. I don't think that writing something, if people don't have a problem with folks knowing how they vote, what the hell's the problem with raising your hand or standing up? I think you want to hide something when you try to pressure people or to do things by a telephone or by a voice, and I apologize, I should have cleared that phone number in this process. And I just think it's the right thing to do, and certainly understand other people's opinions and respect them.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, motion passes. Then in Jefferson Township, the screening committee interviewed Sheila Back, who is running for one of two seats on the Jefferson Township trustees. Jefferson Township trustee. She has been active in the Jefferson Township community, has the support of many people both within the community and the party. It was our recommendation that Sheila Back be endorsed for Jefferson Township trustee. Is there a motion in favor for that? Megan Thomas? And
Carrie Gray?
Carrie Gray, all right. Is there let's vote on this motion before we do your motion, Tom. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Tom, you want to make a motion as well?
Yes, I'd like to ask that we add Joe Barnes to this list. Joe would have been interviewed and been here, but there is a confidential medical issue that I can't go any further on other than to know that Joe has screened with his party. He has pulled his petitions. He's set to be on the ballot. He's been a long-time member of the party and a precinct leader. I'd ask that we endorse Joe Barnes for Jefferson Township trustee also.
I think Joe is also the business agent for Labor's Local
1410,
correct?
Second.
All right. So there's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? John? No. Ron?
No.
All right. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Our next order of business is the treasury report, and I'm just going to read it. So on our political account, we currently have $14,783.59. In our restricted account, we have $142.63. In our state account, we have $124.22. I think, is this other one the judicial?
Yes.
Judicial has $567.79. And in our building fund, we currently have $167,143.32. Is there any questions regarding the treasurer's report?
564 would be the checking account for the building.
Oh,
Yes, sorry, thank you, Mayor.
okay.
Remember that.
Okay. So the total building was $167,711.11.
No vote is necessary.
All right, candidate updates. We have a candidate who plans on running for the state senate. Is it, want to come forward? District 5, okay. Why don't you come forward and use the microphone, and you'll need to try to move the mask down a little bit. At least the current District 5. Looking at the new maps, he told me earlier he's still in the, under the new map that currently is there, he's still in that district.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. How are y'all tonight?
Good evening.
Just wanted to come tonight to introduce myself and let you know who I am. My name is Reddick. I am actually originally from North Carolina. I grew up in coastal North Carolina in a rural area with the tobacco fields and cotton fields of the South. Now, growing up as a kid, we were really poor. There were a lot of nights where we didn't really have a lot on the table. My mom would often feed us kids, and then when we got done eating, she would take the scraps, and that was her dinner. My dad was in the military. My stepdad was a Vietnam veteran. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I hunt, I fish. I'm actually a certified scuba diver. I have a great respect and revere for Mother Nature. And so part of what you're going to be seeing that I'm doing as I'm running and I'm representing you guys is actually making sure that we're able to take care of Mother Earth and the things that we're doing. The reason I chose to run for this office is, I'm an educator by trade. So I worked in higher education for over 10 years. I actually have 2 master's degrees. I have a identical twin, by the way, so you may actually see him at some point in time. He has a doctorate degree. But I was working from home. I'm a small businessman myself. So I have a mental health practice with my wife. I have a wife and 3 kids. So I was at home working because of COVID. We're not in the office right now. And I was at home working, and I'm a big believer in taking part in history and seeing history. So I was sitting there on January the 6th and watching them about to vote for the election ballots and certify everything. And then one of the things I thought I would never ever see happen, I saw our democracy attacked from within. Get that. In all the years that we have been a democracy, we have never had an attack from within and almost crumbled. That day I decided I was going to run. Because our current leaders are the ones that let that happen. Our current leaders are the ones that let that happen. The gentleman that's currently over Senate District number 5, he kept his mouth closed the entire time. Not one time during the process of the election did he decide to stand up and say what was right. The election was not stolen. He chose to bury his head in the sand and go along with everybody else. Lack of leadership. Now, like I said, I'm from education, and I've worked with students for tons and tons of years and taught them how to be leaders. To me, a good leader is someone that's going to be there for his people when something happens. Our current person, our citizens over in Trotwood, when they had that major disaster tornado. The first thing he should have done was to pick up the phone and call the mayor and say, what can I do to help you out? What is needed? He never bothered to do anything. He showed up 2 weeks later when the governor was there to tour the area to take pictures. That was his standard of working for the people in his district. That's not a leader. He forgot what leadership is about. Leadership is about being there for the people in your district when they need you the most. See, he has a habit of following everyone. He can't lead on his own. He's what you call a follower. Now, there's nothing wrong with following people. One of my favorite quotes that I taught with students all the time was, a good leader knows when to lead, but when to follow. He never learned that second part. He doesn't know how to lead at all. So that's why I'm here running, because we need better leaders for our local offices and our state offices. We need someone who's not afraid to stand up and say when something is wrong. He's not afraid to put his title, his morals, and everything out there to ensure that us as common folks are taken care of. Like I said, I grew up poor. I don't think I'm any better than anybody else. I grew up working as an electrician's helper. My first job was as a janitor. I've done all kinds of things in my life. I've been blessed. I don't take anything for granted. And I know how hard it is to be out here working and have to worry about whether or not you can take care of childcare for your kids. A lot of people are dealing with issues right now. They can't go to work because they can't take care of the kids. There's no one to do it. They can't afford child care. So there's a lot of issues that we need to talk about, and we need to discuss, and we need to actually go to work and figure out how to make those things happen. So I'm here tonight to introduce myself, let you know guys know who I am. And in November of 2022, Steve Huffman is no longer your state senator. I'll be his state.
You know, people say this, Steve Huffman's a doctor, and he has had no leadership on the issue of COVID-19 in the State House. In fact, his most famous saying was that the African American community was getting more COVID because they didn't wash their hands.
Well, actually, what he's saying in exact words is colored people get COVID because we don't wash our hands and social distance. Those were his exact words.
This is our current state senator.
Doctor.
Yep.
Oh, I meant to say, whoever is currently in District 5, we do have our petition here, so if anyone, we cover Miami County, the lower half of Dark County, Preble County, and parts of Montgomery County, a little bit of, was it Butler that they tapped in?
Yeah, right.
A little bit of Butler County.
Under the current.
But anyone who is able to sign the petition, please do, because we're right there at the edge to make sure we have enough, just in case we have signatures thrown out, safety buffer. So we have our petitions here.
I think if you're in Vandalia and Englewood, I think pretty sure you can sign it. So that's.
Yeah, Vandalia, Englewood, Clayton.
And I think Huber Heights as well.
Parts of the, yes, that's true.
All right, and other candidates. I saw Jill Hall. Jill, did you want to say anything tonight?
Do you want me to come up there?
Yeah, that'd probably be.
We have a really great Keara and I are having a day of action courtesy of Darius with the Young Democrats on Sunday, and Allison has invited the precinct captains. So we have a day of walking that we are really excited about, and I'm really thrilled about in Kettering. So if you have not heard about it and would like to join, we would love to have you. Keara may say the same thing. Things are going great with the campaign. I'm getting a great response from people, and I feel really encouraged. And I haven't said much here in this meeting, but I did yesterday with South Dayton Democrats that the person I'm running against is one of these QAnon types targeting the school boards and is putting crazier and crazier stuff out there, which I hope will, be a losing issue, but you never know. So I could use all the help I could get and really appreciate your time and help.
Thank you, Jill. Keara running for Kettering Clerk of Courts is here. By the way, it's not just Kettering, it's also Centerville, Washington Township, so.
Thank you. I'm Keara Deaver. It's Centerville, Kettering, Washington Township, and Moraine. Those are the districts if anybody lives anywhere. I brought signs. I'm running for Clerk of Court. I feel like I don't have to tell you who my opponent is. His name's Rob Scott. He's pretty famous. I feel like I'm running against Trump. I'm sure you've seen his signs. I was just telling the South Dayton Dems last night. He is a lawyer. He doesn't know how to read the law because his signs are too big. He has to take them down. Shucks. Anyway, as Jill was saying, Sunday at 2 o'clock, we're meeting at Ireland Park. This is organized by Darius and the Greater Dayton Young Dems. Thank you so much. Anybody who can come out, please meet us. Jill and I are cutting turf. Anybody, we really need the help. We will be canvassing Kettering. We're trying to get the vote out. Clerk of Court is not a sexy position, but we're trying to get people excited. Municipal elections are the ones that really matter the most. So we're doing a real big grassroots effort here. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Trying to find out there are there other candidates that are here tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, Stacy Benson Taylor. Stacy.
All right, just a couple updates. We also canvass on Sundays at 2, and we canvass on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you have some time, we'd love to have you. That's Jeff, myself, and Scott. Our signs, Jeff's signs are actually in. Scott and I, our signs will be in. Should be this weekend. So if you need signs for your yard, let us know. And then you see Jeff is having a fundraiser on the 4th, and Scott, it's not on here, but he is having one that following Saturday, and Jeff is cooking pancakes, so everybody probably has had those pancakes. It'll be an exciting fundraiser, and so look for more information about that. Again, we need help with knocking on doors and yard signs. Thank you.
All right.
Any other candidates here? All right, let's go to the standing committees. Communications, Ken, do you have a report?
Thank you. Hey, everybody. So we're just doing our thing, cranking out different posts, emails, newsletter. We encourage you to, once again, I'll ask, to engage with our social media posts on Facebook, like, or comment, or sometimes share on Twitter, comment, or retweet. We'd also, if you have ideas, once again, I'll say, reach out to any of us on the committee, me, Laura Hume, Acacia Morrell, Ian Ferguson, Jen Underwood. Could probably go through Kirk too, because he sits in our committee. So you know how to reach. You know how to reach Kirk for sure. You can, if you know the rest of us, just talk to us about it. The other thing I'd like to ask, precinct captains, you can help us out with this. When you're knocking on doors, you can invite folks to check out our Facebook, Twitter, and our website. And at the website, they can sign up for emails. That would really be nice to get some more people accessing our emails. So that's all I have. Thanks very much.
Precinct captain report. Allison Benford.
Just a very short one. Unfortunately, we've had to accept 3 resignations since our last meeting, but we will be adding a new precinct captain. Someone just came through for us. So, you know, just keep looking out for those folks who are willing to do the work, because we need you. I am calling on all precinct captains to become engaged, volunteering in a campaign, and encouraging your precinct constituents to vote. If you want to just, you know, create a little letter to pop in the doors. This, as you know, is not an election that tends to have a great turnout. And so, you know, it's more important than ever. I've never seen such local elections going on as we have this time, especially in the South. So please get out in your precincts. If you can put some door hangers out there, all the better. But if not, just drop a little note in to your Democratic list that you have, just reminding them how important it is to get out to vote this time. South Dayton had some folks ask me about, you know, who to recommend. I will get that out to you, and we've even, you know, if people would like that, Kurt and I talked about maybe getting a list of those folks out throughout the whole county, so you know who you can recommend to your voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Allison? Is there anyone here from the Community Involvement Committee for campaigns, elections, or rules? Before we go on, I did want to thank, this this kind of is with communications. We had some folks who testified in front of the redistricting group. I know Ken testified, and we had others that did there as well, Jan Underwood, a few others that worked real hard to try to convince people with deaf ears to listen. We've had people approached, I hope I'm not spilling the beans too much, but there has already been one lawsuit filed, and might be another lawsuit filed in the courts to upend those. I know Allison has been approached to be a plaintiff in that. So we are moving forward to try to correct those maps. If you look at what they've done statewide, it's hard to imagine, but they actually made them more Republican friendly somehow, some way. They were supposed to try to keep things intact. We've already heard they've already split Huber Heights. They split Dayton into 3. I think there's now
I think
3.
it was 4.
4? I know there's 3 for sure. There could be 4. So it's clearly, even the governor and the Secretary of State and the auditor all said that they didn't like the maps. They voted for them anyway. So there is some hope on the Supreme Court that they'll change that. I do know that we have 3 solid Democratic votes and that understand what the law is. Even last time, the Maureen O'Connor, when they looked at the maps last time, was very dubious about them, put out an opinion, but she thought that it should be, and it clearly did not meet her definition of what fair districts was, and that was even before we changed the Constitution. So there is some hope that they can be overturned. We'll see. Club reports. Northwest Dayton, Barb Bayliff. I think you're back there, Barb.
Good news, we have another meeting. It's coming up October the 14th, 7 p.m. It'll be on Zoom. We're having a candidates night. Everybody is welcome to listen in. And I was just going to say that, I don't know, I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be a part of the Democratic Party.
Allison, a report from South of Dayton Democrats.
A number of you were with us yesterday evening when we did have our meeting, and we had a wonderful meeting. We had Dr. Krista Aguirre from Wright State University, and she was just fantastic. I'm sure those of you who were there would agree with me. Her doctoral thesis actually was to apply critical race theory to popular American history and literature used in schools. And so she opened a lot of our eyes and had some wonderful insights. So the great thing is she just 2 weeks ago won a $300,000 grant to share with University of Dayton Sinclair and Wright State to educate young teachers as to how to teach diversity and inclusion and equity. So that is thrilling that our area at least will be turning out some teachers who will know how to do that. It was a very important meeting and topic, we felt, because of what is going on, especially in Centerville and even in Oakwood. We have folks are asking for thousands of pages of documents and saying that the school board and the library and the Oakwood Inclusion Coalition are in collusion with each other to do what I don't know. But, you know, it's getting pretty crazy out there, so this was a very topical meeting that we had. We also were able to welcome some of our candidates and promote the canvass that we had for Jill and Keara this weekend. And our meeting next month again will be on Zoom, October 20th, and we're very excited. I don't know whether he knows yet, but Jill and I have organised this. Our speaker is going to be Ambassador Tony Hall. So that will be wonderful. So if you're not a member but you'd like to listen in, just let me know. I'll send you the link.
Thank you, Allison. Darius, we have a report from the Young Downs.
I'm just going to repeat Keara and Jill's announcement to come out this Sunday. We were happy to organize a walk for them. It's going to be at Ireland Park. That's 2 p.m. on Sunday. Also, we do have signs in for Commissioner Mims as well as Stacy and Scott. We're going to need help putting those together. So you can either reach out to myself or Mike Brill. We'll be figuring out a specific date when we can go to Jeff's garage and get those all put together. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Is there anybody here from the College Down site or the Democratic Warrior? Okay, next on our agenda, we was going to have a discussion on ranked choice voting. David?
Thank you. Ms. Benford, how many precincts are there in Montgomery County?
360.
360. So we're supposed to have a precinct captain from every precinct, and they're supposed to be here to participate. And I see a little more than 10% of that here today. The Republicans have said our elections are broken. Okay, we can't even trust the results we have in elections. I think this all started when Citizens United became the law of the land, and we had a race for getting the best politicians money can buy. And since then, it's gone all downhill. I've said for a long time that this party has a responsibility to elect Democrats. It has a responsibility to forward the ideals of the Democratic Party and a progressive approach where we are inclusive and where we believe in democracy. We're not doing a great job. You need proof? Steve Huffman. You need more proof? Rob Scott. You need more proof? Niraj Antani or Phil Plummer or Rob Streck. We haven't even been able to put candidates up for some offices. And we need to think about changing things. And the thing that I think that it's time to understand is, how did this apathy begin and how is it manifested in our elections? So let's talk about Democrats versus Republicans, because that's all that anybody seems to be able to talk about right now. Red states and blue states. The reality is, the politicians have turned it into a thing of red versus blue, while a majority of voters aren't either party. They're not Democrats, they're not Republicans. They call themselves independents. Some might call themselves libertarians, Greens, Democratic Socialists, anything else, but they don't want to take part in this system the way it's set, and they believe it is rigged. And yes, it is rigged. And we do some very stupid things to make it more expensive and more difficult to see minorities represented, women represented, poor people represented. It shouldn't cost $400,000 to run for the mayor of Dayton when the job pays $50,000. Does that make sense to anybody here? No, it doesn't. We have needless, what we call primaries or special or runoff elections to narrow the field, to basically guarantee incumbents re-election, to block out anybody who's not a D or an R, or somebody who's not that tuned in, or doesn't think that politics are as important as feeding their families, having child care, or having health care. I think if we did our job, Democrats would win every election because we stand for things like universal health care, universal basic income, child care, maternity leave. I mean, these are good things. We believe in unions. And we're not getting our message out. And we're putting a barricade in by having these stupid elections where less than 10% of the people show up, choose the candidates that everyone else has to choose from in the fall. Even in a nonpartisan election, they don't think they can go vote. So what's the solution? The solution is to eliminate these unnecessary runoff elections and give people a better way of choosing candidates. It's the only way that we can start working about selling our message and saying we're here to represent interests, not saying we're here because we're a Democrat and you should vote for us because we're not them. That's not good enough. It was nice hearing somebody get up here and actually talk about some positions, but still, we're not as good at that as we should be. So with a ranked choice system, and I really didn't want to be the face of this. It should have been Alex Sharp, but he has a young child, and his wife works nights in OBGYN as a nurse, and so he had to be home with his kids tonight. But he is the director of Reconstructing Dayton, a 501c4 that is working to try to improve the Dayton area and set a model for the rest of the state on how to do things. And one of the first things we wanted to do was bring ranked choice voting to the City of Dayton elections. Why City of Dayton elections? It's the highest profile. It's the one with a really low turnout. It's one where we might have a chance of moving it forward. And even still, we had a hard time getting people on board in time and saying that they would back us and help us out. And so instead of running it at the general election when more people vote, which is what we believe in, we're going to put it on the ballot in a primary next year. I don't necessarily like that, but we couldn't get things together fast enough. So what does a ranked choice election do? Instead of picking four people, pick the top two for commission and have in the mayor's race 2 people and pick your choice, you would have an open slate of as many candidates as want to run, and the voters would rank their choices. This is my first choice. This is my second choice. This is my third choice. This is my fourth choice, on down as far as they want to go. Why do they do this? Why is this good for women? Why is this good for minorities? Because it means that people feel like their vote is not going to be wasted. They're voting first for who they really want, not first for who they want because they don't want the other guy to win. And if their vote, that person doesn't get a majority of the votes, guess what happens? Their second choice gets their vote. And if that person doesn't get a majority, the third person gets their vote. On down the line. And at the end, we have vote totals, and whoever got the most votes then becomes the mayor. And if they don't want it, they can pass, and the next person down can say, I'll take it, or they can pass. And the third person, if it comes to them and they still don't want to be mayor, the system's really broken, worse than I thought, okay? Because you're turning down a $6,000 pay raise or whatever the difference is now for doing nothing more than sitting in the center seat and running the meeting, because they all 5 have the same power on that commission. And we've totally eliminated an entire election cycle where candidates have to raise money and spend it just to get on the ballot in the first place, where they're talking to a very small audience because 10% turnout. And we also stopped the stupid process of making them do this in the middle of winter when it's snowing and icy out, getting ready for the primary. We have an election at a normal time of year, where people can go door to door in the summer. We save money in that we don't run 2 elections. Candidates don't have to spend as much money because they can get on the ballot, they can find out if they have any weight by, educating voters on their positions, and we move forward. It's a very good concept, and places, it was invented in this country 100 years ago, and the places that have installed it, like the city of Minneapolis, of which much of the language from this initiative was copied and adapted for Dayton, they saw an increase in both women and minorities getting elected. I've heard the most inane responses from people saying, oh, this promotes socialism. I'm not even sure where that comes from. Or this does this, or this does that. No, it doesn't. It makes sure that at least you never feel like your vote is not heard or counted, or that you're voting against somebody. It says, I'm going to vote for somebody. And if my first choice doesn't get it, I'm voting for my second choice, not voting against somebody. It's a very simple change. And supposedly, the state Democratic Party has endorsed ranked choice voting. There are other organizations like Represent Us, More Equitable Democracy, and Rank the Vote Ohio are backing this. We are asking the Montgomery County Democratic Party to join us in working to make this a reality so that we can make accessible government more accessible and more representative in Dayton, Ohio, and be leaders in the state. The first to fly, the first to make a step ladder, the first to make a cash register, and the first to put ranked choice voting where it counts. Now, one thing, they do this some in Cincinnati. Alex knows the history better, or they did this in Cincinnati for a long time, and I think they backed out of it. But we can do it right, and we hope to do it right, and we hope that we have your support. If you have questions about it, the entire language is at reconstructingdayton.org/ranked choice. There's some flyers up there. I've got some of these. It says November 2nd, but again, just couldn't get enough people on board. Right up there was a lot of questions and explaining some of the details, like if we have somebody who gets elected and then resigns, instead of holding a special election that's expensive, the person who came in third gets elected. Just like that. So if you want to run for office and you think you're not going to finish your term, don't run, because the guy who comes in behind you is right there going to take your seat. It would have saved us a lot of money and pain in the ass, because Darrell Fairchild wouldn't have had to have an election just to pick him, because he came in third before. The fact that the candidate who ran was a confidential informant, already had pled guilty, and we backed him as his party, hey, we'll ignore all that right now. But this is the future. This is how we get voters interested again. This is how we become the party of the right choice, not the right. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Do they have to do in ranked choice voting, you still have to get petitions, get people signed petitions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the question was, do you still have to get petitions? We eliminated 3 things from the petition process. 1, the nominating committee, because it doesn't mean anything. We've had candidates have a nominating committee. The nominating committee gets plenty of votes. gets all the signatures, and then their vote to put the person on doesn't count because the person didn't sign on a line. We've had lots of people knocked off the ballot, including Karen Wick-Gagne, for stupidity like that. So it knocks that out. It knocks out the requirement of 500 signatures. Why? It only takes 50 to run for Congress, people. If you can run for Congress with 50 people, with 50 signatures, let's not put an undue burden. So it knocks that off. And the third thing it changes is Dayton's weird in that they require you to have a notary public sign off on petitions that they didn't see any of the signatures take place. It's sort of a redundant process, and it has also caused a lot of problems for people. So we're taking those three elements off just because we believe that the power of your ideas is more important than the power of dotting I's and crossing T's and bothering people to sign a petition, which just gets you on the ballot. It doesn't mean their vote endorsing you or anything else. Most people sign it as a courtesy. Anybody who wants to run, that's enough. But this 500 signature thing has screwed up more people and knocked more people off this ballot, including me several times. Sometimes now I know how to fight it, but back then nobody ever told me. But we are going to fix that and make running for office about your ideas and not about paperwork. So there's enough other paperwork, like getting an EIN and setting up a bank account and all these other campaign finance things that aren't transparent at all. We'll get to that next. Any other questions? Sure.
Board of Elections, have you presented this to them? Will it make any difference to the voting process, the machines, or what would be the cost for them to change?
We have not presented it to the Board of Elections. That's probably a very good idea. I don't know what the latest machines do. There are people that could answer that question for us, and we will ask them. The reality is most modern ballot voting machines have the option to run a ranked choice system. I have a slight problem with Board of Elections in the state of Ohio. Again, more people are independent than there are either Democrats or Republicans, but our boards of elections don't recognize that, and it's pure Democrat and Republican. And if there's a deadlock on election day, guess who gets to step in and make the decision? How many people know who would answer to this? John? Actually, no. On election day, it is not the Secretary of State. Who is the person who makes the decision on a deadlock on the day of balloting in Montgomery County? What?
In some instances, it's a flip of a coin.
No, it's the sheriff. In Ohio law, it is the sheriff. Sorry, he's a Republican. Any other questions? Yes?
You've listed positives for this process. Are there any downsides?
Okay, so are there any downsides? Some people will say, well, I'm only electing one person. Well, that's one more person than you might have ever voted for in your entire life. Okay, that actually got elected. People say, well, my vote doesn't count. Yes, it does. It counts more. It's like a super vote. So that's the number one complaint. Well, what happens if I like more than one person? Well, you vote one, you vote two, and you hope one of them wins. That's the major downside. It can take a little longer to gather the results, but that has mostly been because people at boards of elections have thought how to do this. It shouldn't. We have computers now. There are these amazing things that can actually tally this thing and run it in minutes, not hours. That would be the second thing. New York made a real good job of botching their Democratic primary for mayor. They did lots of things wrong. Hopefully we've learned from that. Any other questions? Yes?
I just wanted to share that I spoke to the Board of Elections about ranked choice voting, and they do have the capability to run it. If we have
Awesome!
law, then they-
Awesome! Thank you. Any other questions or anything I can answer? Yes?
I'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts on it, because I completely agree with you on Citizens United and stuff like
because frankly, I am not made of money, and the city of Dayton, I could wait, but it's gonna cost a lot more money to run. And if we don't make it in the primary, we can run it again in the general. So we have to go out and gather an ungodly number of signatures again to do it, but that gives us another opportunity. So that's why. Any other questions? Anything I can answer? I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I know for some of you it's very painful every minute that I stand up here and speak. Thank you.
Mr. Owens, as you know, I serve on the state executive committee of the Ohio Democratic Party and have for a number of years. I just stepped away and talked to the Ohio vice chairman of the state Democratic Party, and we have not endorsed ranked choice voting. The Ohio Democratic Party has not done that. Look, we've heard a lot of dialogue tonight. We've got a process that's working well for a lot of us. We've been around a long time. We've seen it. There's some tweaking you can always do, but this is a little much, and we should run it in a general election where all the citizens can vote, not just that small window.
David, did you want to proceed with anything, or?
My feeling is we don't have a quorum here, so that any vote this body would take really would be just like that screening committee in the back room doing a vote. I think we should actually poll all the precinct captains and ask them for a vote on support. Otherwise, we're not doing the job. But, you know, if you guys want to vote to support this initiative, or if you want to say you want more time to, whatever way you want to do this, it's up to you. Some of you, this is all new information. I would want to research it. I would want to read the language and watch the video that explains how it works. That's all there at reconstructingdayton.org/ranked choice. There's a really good video with, you know, lions and tigers and all that fun stuff explaining how you become king of the jungle in one way and how you become king of the jungle, ranked choice. So we have time between now and the spring. I would like to have the support of the party, but again, I don't think it's fair for 30 people to make a decision for 360 some, and I really wouldn't feel comfortable with this being the first time that I've come up here to really talk about this, asking for unequivocal support. I was told the state party had supported it. I didn't research it. I wasn't the one that was going to be making this speech. Like I said, here you go. Alex is much more likable than me. So, thank you.
I have one other question, Dave. Has the actual language been written?
The language is written.
So
it is
well, let me,
6 pages long.
Can there be amendments to that, or can there be changes?
That's what we've been asking for. We've been asking for people.
My personal opinion is that this is that you mentioned that the third place winner would become the
third or fourth, depending on which election.
So let's say a person resigns 3 years into their term, or dies, or whatever the case might be. Well, it's been 3 years since that election. I personally have a problem with something that far away, so I think you need to look at that.
I've heard that argument already. That's been brought up. That has been one of the things that people have said. They're not comfortable with it. So there's two options. One is to leave the seat open if it's 3 years in, because the next election's coming up. But these special elections are very expensive. The turnout is very low. The interest is very low. And generally in the city of Dayton, that's the only way we've gotten new voices on this commission. Dean Lovelace did it after running multiple times. Darrell Fairchild did it after running multiple times. In general, this special election thing has not been any more democratic because it's a compressed time frame. How to get enough signatures and get on the ballot is very difficult. But you know, if you guys want to spend $150,000 to have somebody fill out a year of a term, we're more than happy to change it, but it'll be ranked choice, and with the lower barriers, there can be more candidates, so we might have a more democratic process. But that was a simpler way of stopping having additional elections, and also to make sure that voters felt like they actually voted for somebody. You don't know if it's the top one or the next one down, or who's going to get it. That's why it's important to rank more than 2 or 3 or 4 people, because then things work out that way. So, thank you.
Right. Is there anything else? Is the sense of the committee here to leave this alone until we go further along?
Yeah.
Sina?
Yeah, if you're looking for a motion, I would move that we table this for now, because this is a complex process, and I think we all need a lot more time to research and discuss it.
I don't think we need a formal table because there's been no motion made, so we'll just move it along to the, if someone wants to make a motion later on, if it actually goes on the ballot, and do it then, however you want to do it. So at this point, we'll wait, we'll move forward without I don't think we don't need a table. Mary?
I was just gonna say, generally, I'm in favor of ranked choice voting. I think lots of places use it. It seems to work. You know, we have objections. They seem to have been overcome. But like you said, I don't think we need to do anything tonight.
Right. All right. We will now have some announcements. We do have a picnic scheduled for next Thursday. I think some of us are going to meet. The cost is $25. Right now, we haven't had a lot of ticket sales, so we're going to meet in the next day or so to determine whether we'll go forward, and we'll put out an email letting you know. But right now, it's still on. If you want to volunteer to help put it on, let us know. I know that the Board of Elections employees were going to do that, but they kind of indicated that they, because of their workload right now and other factors, that they probably won't be able to help out very much at the picnic. So we will be giving you more information the next couple days. We also have a March for Reproductive Rights on Saturday, August 2nd at 1 p.m. at Courthouse Square. As you know, the Supreme Court let stand a Texas law that was very anti-choice. They did it for some bizarre procedural issues, but it may be a hint of what they may do when other issues come up that attack Roe versus Wade and Casey and other string of cases involving reproductive rights. So we would urge you to meet, let your voice be heard on October 2nd, Saturday, October 2nd, 1 p.m. Does anyone else have any more information regarding that? Yes.
It's going to be a rally at Courthouse Square, and it's also going to be a march to Mike Turner's office and back.
Okay, so there will be a rally beginning at 1, and after that there'll be a march down to the federal building, Mike Turner's office, from Courthouse Square.
Don't worry, he's never there.
Yeah.
And then just a reminder, there will be a reception for Jeff Mims with Congresswoman Joyce Beatty on Monday, October 4th at the Coons patio at the arcade downtown in Dayton. If you can RSVP to Jen Murphy. And please continue to check your calendar for events that on the website of other events that are happening. I know that Carl Keith does have a fundraiser next Tuesday. Flanagan's. Marty Garris has one coming up on October the 5th. I believe that's going to be out at the firefighters activity center. I don't know if there's any others that are coming up or not. Any?
It even costs money to run for office when you're unopposed now.
Our next meeting was going to be Thursday, September the 23rd. Oh, I'm sorry. No,
That's tonight.
October 28th. And there's a question, there is a question whether we'll be virtual or not. The state is starting up their ability to help us do a virtual meeting. I think we're going to judge how, I know there are some people that are not here tonight because they were uncomfortable coming to a group, inside group. So we'll kind of judge and see where we're at infection-wise or in the community, make a decision a couple weeks before whether it will be virtual or in person. Any other announcements? Tom?
Mark, if I could, I'd just ask that everybody keep Debbie Owens and Mark and his family in your prayers. Debbie's mother passed away Tuesday morning, and the services are set for this Thursday and tomorrow in Fairborn at, I'm sorry, Mark.
Benson, Dayton School
Funeral home on Yellow Springs Road, across just up the street from Fairborn High School. The family's going to receive friends at 11 a.m. Just so you'll know, but Debbie has been an active member of this party for a long time. She is the better half of Mark Owen's group, as everyone knows. But again, Mark, more seriously, we're sorry for your loss, and if you would let Debbie know, I know there'll be some of us who try to be there tomorrow.
Thank you, Tom. Any other announcements? Right? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ron Hall, Diane Walsh, all in favor, signal saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.